When I put the DRO on my milling machine, I stepped on this. This is a Sieg SX2.7. I stepped the case with the power electronics, etc., the power supply, off the actual main column by 22mm. And I thought, actually, that's quite useful, because what I could do then is I can improve the stiffness of this column by putting a plate on the back. Now, if I put a plate, and I'm going to take this case off and put a plate on the back, and then put ribs on that plate, which I will bolt and then get them welded on, I could effectively create a plate and add and join the base of the mill to the column more securely. So I'm going to take this case off and have a look at the back and just start measuring bits up, and then we'll go on from there. So I've just removed the case with a couple of bolts. You can see the cast section now on the back of this milling machine. One I'm going to put space apart, one in the centre, and then off centre, and that will then give me a real section without adding too much mass. So I'll have quite a section to this steel plate without adding a huge amount of mass. It's quite... So I'm just putting holes in here, 3mm. These are going to be for M3 countersunk bolts that are going to hold these beams in place. One there, one in the centre, one the other side. And then my plan is to get them welded onto this plate, but the M3s will be good there anyway, so they'll add a proper level of fixing. And then I'm going to drill the outside edge down here to put the M5s into the castings along both sides, and then a pattern on the bottom so that I can tie this into the actual base casting of the milling machine at the back. Now these fit here, and then what you see is the M5s fit down here, the space for them. They will go down the side here. They will go down here, and then what I've got here is this necked section. So I've necked it on both sides. This is now 130mm across here, and this is 150, or well, actually a bit more. It's 6 inches wide there, and then it's 130mm here, and that then exactly matches the cast iron at the back here, at the back of the mill. That's where I'm at. So I continue drilling these holes. They're 20mm spacing, except over that joint I've gone to 40 to allow me to get either side of it and get a good clear points there. I'll carry on. So this is the back of the Sieg SX2 milling machine. I've taken the cover off. You can see the black cover over here. This is with the power electronics in. And what I've got is, you've got the, well, let's look at the column first. So we've got a column cast and a cast base, and this column's bolted and got two pins in here. It's fairly well braced all the way up, and it's well, you know, it's a fairly substantial bit of kit actually. But what I'm going to do is, when I put the DRO on, I moved that power electronics case back 22mm, and that gave me space to put a plate on that will bridge the base to the column. Now if I fit that, what I'm going to do is it will close off the bottom half of that column and give it a bit more stiffness. It will also allow me to put M5 screws in and fix these two together. Now you can also see I've got 2 rows of smaller holes there. What I'm going to do is, I'm not even sure I need it, but I'm going to put 3 beams vertically down this panel, because that will give it a much bigger cross section without the weight, and that will increase its stiffness even further. Now I'm going to bolt that in. I was thinking I might weld it, but what I don't want to do is distort it at all when I do weld it. So I'm going to think carefully about that before I weld it. It might be enough just bolting it. So just temporarily bolted this plate on just to look at it. It's got a number of these M5 cap head bolts all down the edge here, and then at the bottom I'm not sure I'm going to put all these cap heads in. As I said earlier, I'm going to probably put every other one at the moment because I think that's enough. There's a fine line between how much I remove from the cast iron versus how many bolt fixes I have. And then I'm putting countersunk M3s in the back to hold these beams on. I've just got to put a few more fixings in. But it's not actually that heavy. It's quite heavy, but it's feeling like a substantial section now. So that bending stiffness of this will be huge. And actually, it's a significant section compared to the actual column and base as well. I've got to take a little bit off this because I'm slightly more than my 22 millimeters is what I moved this all out. So I've got 25.4. I've got an inch here. I've got to remove, I think, a bit more material just to give me enough space. I'll check that again and get that to the absolute minimum that I remove to make that work. But I'll do these tap-ins first and put all these bolts in here. That's my first job, is to drill and tap all of these holes. So I'm just putting the centre beam in place, and as I do it, I'm putting a bit of True Lock. I'll put some True Lock on here, on there, and I'm just going to put each of these bolts in with a bit of True Lock. These ain't coming out again. I hope they're not coming out again. That'd be fun, wouldn't it? Each one with a bit of True Lock on. There's an awful lot of them. So, no, they're not coming back out. This is the centre beam. I've drilled and tapped all the holes. There's an awful lot of them. I'm not sure, I haven't gone over the top there, but let's just we'll go with it. It's taken me a bit of time, but let's just tighten it right up as far as we can. That's it. Yep, that's it. Right, next one. So we move on. So I finally bolted the ribs on this plate, and then I'm going to bolt this into here. What I'm going to do is, before I bolt it in, I'm going to measure the stiffness of the head, static stiffness. I'm going to put some weights on and measure the displacement of the head, and then I'll repeat it once this plate is bolted in, and that will give me a static stiffness impact of this plate. It won't be the dynamic, but it'll be the static, and it'll be a good start. So I've just fitted some felt on here on these ribs because this cover fits on quite snug. I want it to go right up against those ribs. They're all rattling if I'm not careful. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to open out the holes on the top so that they're more like slots, so that I can just adjust it and pull it in and then nip it up with the M5 bolts. And then I'll be ready to have a go. So the milling machine, the stiffeners on the back there, the cover's back on, it's all bolted on properly now. The DRO is all fitted. There it is, coming to life. Milling machine, switching it on, just plug it in here, plug the power supply back in, and we're away. Actually sounds a bit quieter, but hey ho, let's see where we get to. So just got to put the vice back on, and then we can start using it all again. So good job. Follow me, see what models I'm making, subscribe below, thumbs up as well. Cheers.